If you're going for a position that requires PHP, it's important you know the next step of your learning in PHP, which is object-oriented programming. Now, in our curriculum at Mesa, we get you through databases, MySQL and PHP, but at that point we stop, and there is a next level. The next level is understanding MVC, Model View Controller, and objects. So in this lesson, I'm going to give you some examples of objects and how you can modularize your code so it looks better in your code portfolio. So what I'm going to do real quick is show you where this folder is, and we're going to work with it. So in right here, it's week 4, and it's the, let me find it here. There we go, the object-oriented PHP file. So when you download that, you'll get the zip that I'm showing you. So I'm working in MAMP, and I'm going to open up the browser. We're going to toggle back and forth between the browser and the code. So these are my objects, and first thing I'm going to do is click on Object 1. And now we'll look at the first object here. So this right here is an object. It's a class with a method. So in PHP, methods and functions are used interchangeably. In this case, I have a block of code that could run many functions. So if you think about the functions that you might have run into in PHP in your class projects, or let's say the little bit of object-oriented programming you've had access to, which is basically using MySQLi or PDO. Those are both objects. PDO specifically stands for PHP Data Object because it's an object that works with the database. But in this case, I have a class, first class, and I have a function. So what you're used to is calling a function just by saying say what, because that's the function. That's the level I'd expect in this course based on WebD 166 and 167. But right now I've put it in a class. So the idea is to take your functions, and if they all do similar things, like let's say it's a registration, you might have log in, log out, all within the registration class, something like that. Or I'm sorry, register, maybe change your profile, something like that. Or email confirmation. That all the functions that are similar should be in the same class. And that forms an object of related functionality. So I've got a variable name here, which we'll get to in a minute, but specifically we're looking at how we're going to call the function of code that we wrote. So here we use the new keyword, and we're saying new first class. And then we have this. This is an instantiation marker. So what we're going to do is we've created a variable that equals an instance of the first class, and now we're going to instantiate this function with the already instantiated object. So when I do that, I'm running this code, but the only way I can get here is by calling the object, making it equal to a new instance of the first class, and then calling that function. That's why when we go to the browser, we get what's up. So that's a nice thing. I mean, it's if you have any object-oriented experience with another language, it'll be pretty similar. So let's go to the next one. This right here shows how we can get a variable that's within the same class into the function. So in this case, I have var name Nicole, and I'm going to comment this out real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. The bottom is the same thing we've been working with, basically new first class and then an instance. So I have var scalar name equals Nicole, and if I hit toObject, you're going to see my name, and you see it's blank. And that's because the only way we can have variables of local scope in a function is if by declaring them inside the function. And that's why when I go back and hit this, it should say, hello, my name is Nicole. Well, I have to save the item first. There, now it's saved. And I'll go back and it should say, hello, my name is Nicole. Perfect. So that leads us to our next script, which is how do we access that variable outside? So in this case, I have a variable named Jonathan. And this function setName has a couple of things. It's got setName Don, and it's got say hello. So I've got print hello, say this my name. And in this case, this setter is going to change the property. So right now I'm calling the first class, I'm setting the name of Don, and we should have hello, my name is Don. So let's go check it out in the browser, and I'm going to go to the third object, or the 3 within, and you see Don. So that leads us to an interesting conversation. Does that mean that if we just did say hello, normally it should say Jonathan? and we'll hit this, and you see, yeah, it does. So what that means is, in order to get the name of a variable that's outside the function, we need to use the keyword this. So let's go back to Object 2 real quick, and let's grab Nicole. Because now, knowing that, we can do, hello, my name is, and we'll add this, and we'll just do a dot. A separation of string and variable, right? And so this is going to grab all name variables inside this, and this is the class, first class. So when I go back to 2, we should finally see Nicole, and we do. So we can use the this keyword to grab those values. And in this case, we grabbed a setter that overrode the variable name John, and it became Don because we passed Don into the argument. So scalar n was this name, and that became Don, and that's why it worked in that section. Now, PHP also offers constructors. These are classes that run when a class is called. The interesting thing about this is that constructors can have a constructor keyword, or they can be named the same as the first class. So when I run new first class Alyssa and new first class this, and I call say hello, I'm actually passing the argument into this. So we've got a constructor going on without the constructor keyword. So let's go check that out. There we go. My name is Alyssa, my name is Taylor. And that's because first class ran automatically. If you recall, within, we had to call the setter ourselves because that wasn't a constructor. But if we run first class like that, we wouldn't need the setter. We could just do say hello. Okay? So the constructor itself is running here and taking the argument and resetting it to be the proper name. So the next thing about, and there's not many scripts here. You just learn a few of them so you can talk the talk and maybe practice a little and get started on the next part of your career, which will be object-oriented programming. Now, in order to understand the model view controller paradigm, which a lot of these companies that will hire you are running under, it does need to help to understand what an object is and maybe not how to code it, but what it does and why we organize code the way we do. And it's for so we always know where to edit things, and we know whose responsibility it is to edit, but we'll get to that shortly. So the next script is called inheritance, and this is when a class, in this case second class, will inherit all the properties of the first class. So here you see second class extends first class, and I don't have anything in that class. I don't have a function, I don't have anything. And I don't need it because I've got the properties and methods of that class. So if I write second class son of Ron Toupee, I'm passing that argument to the first class, it's getting reset, and I'll have that value. So let's go ahead and test it. And now I've got inheritance, and you see, hello, my name is son of Ron Toupee, which is very cool. It offers inheritance. Now, one thing to remember is you have to use the extends keyword. So extends first class. Only a couple more, folks. Now, this is when we override that inherited class. So in this case, I've got the same class, I've got the same functions, everything we've done before, I've got the inheritance, but now I'm taking the function say hello, and it no longer equals say hello, my name is Chris. It's going to say hello, I'm not going to tell you my name. And now I'm passing this value. It'll still pass the value to first class, but it doesn't matter because we're not running that class. So we are extending the first class and its functions say hello, and then changing it. And therefore we should say, I'm not going to tell you my name. So here's inheritance. Oops, I'm sorry, it's override. And I'm not going to tell you my name. We have overridden that say hello function by extending the first class. And our last script is, what if you want to extend that first class, then you override it, and then you want to recall the parent class. So that's a script called recall parent. And here we see the same exact script as line 6, but here I'm saying I'm not going to tell you my name, but now I'm recalling first class and using the 2 dots, the 2 colons to recall the initial. So now it'll say new second class, I'm not going to tell you my name, and then it'll say hello, my name is Chris. So let's go ahead and test this guy. So there's recall parent, and there's hello, my name is son of Ron Toupee, because we've passed the argument that overrides Chris. Anyway, that's object-oriented programming in a nutshell. Now you know how next thing you need to know is why. Now, usually when we have this class in ground, I have in-class exercises, and there are a couple here. And if you need the answer, there's inclass2.php. So the questions themselves, I think I have them out. Let me get them out here, and we can kind of go over them. So if you want to practice these, feel free. I know this is an odd situation to have an online class where we have in-class exercises, but it can only help you. So if you do have the motivation to be a PHP developer, something like this: write a class that is a simple addition calculator. No need for text fields to get input here. Just call it the values of the function. So just write out the class. And then in class exercise 2 would be to actually add form data to actually add the data to that function. So now that you've have that done, create a form that passes data to the class. And the answer is actually in right here, where we have our original class, which takes arguments, and then we have a form that passes it in there. So you can go ahead and try that. The results will be the following, where we just have in class PHP, let it load, 5 plus 4, 3 equals, click add, and 5 plus 3, oh, we've got to get the actual value because it didn't go in. So the idea here is, if you notice this, we'd have to go scalar underscore post and add. So see how this is value 1, value 2? This would be equal to value 1 equals scalar underscore post value 1, and value 2 would be the similar, and that would pass values into the class. So there we go, and then we should return that answer. So let's go give it a shot. We're going to hit refresh, and we'll do 3 plus 2 equals, and hopefully, if my browser doesn't crash and everything works, we get 5. So that's the answer to that. But we took values and passed them into the function by creating my calculus new calculator, and then calling the add function and passing 2 variables to that. So answer was originally 10, but this answer now overrides that and becomes a plus b, which is whatever it is. So that is a very quick object-oriented quick tutorial.